Hi, my computer's over there. How are you? Welcome to the weekly bump. Thank you guys so much for being here every week. I always appreciate it so much. And for those of you who participated in the dialogue with the video last week regarding casual sex and kind of our energetic exchange, I'm going to keep that dialogue going. I feel like that's an important topic for us to always keep at the front of our minds, and to also to help educate people. I think it is our duty as we come to higher levels of understanding. It is our duty to teach people the things that can help them, raise their vibrations and to live a more wholesome life. Okay. Also, I appreciate you guys telling me that I make sense as a Chiron in Gemini, and probably a few daddy issues in there as well, with an incredibly articulate father. It means a lot to me that even though I can fumble through, you still understand me, which is great. Thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate it. This week I want to talk about something more fun, something a little bit more light. And I had mentioned my starseed story last week, and someone said, I want to hear your starseed story. So I was like, okay, let's do something like that. That's something fun. It's a little bit creative. It's a little bit more right-brained. And I don't know. We'll do that. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about kind of what I feel about me and my starseed origin. And I'd love to hear you guys too. But before we do that, we'll do the cards. We'll do the stars. Talk a little bit about what's going on. I think the biggest thing right now is we're working our way up to this new moon in Gemini. Oh, intellectually connecting us to our future. Intellectually connecting us to what needs to be done. With the full moon in Sagittarius a couple weeks ago, we had this understanding of where we need to go, understanding of the big picture, kind of formulating. It might not be entirely formulated yet, but it's there, and I think it's a little bit more concrete than it was before. And now here comes Gemini that's like, great, let's figure out how to get it done. Let's figure out what the steps, right? There's a logical progression that needs to be addressed. So let's do that. And during the new moon, of course, it's always a time to set intentions. So I would make a point to do a new moon meditation and set intentions of what you want to accomplish. At the same time, right now, we have Mercury in an opposition, or coming into a stronger opposition with Saturn. It's kind of still a weak opposition right now. This is going to really give us purpose with our thoughts. It's going to really keep us kind of in a slower gear, but we're going up a hill right now, so we're going to need that. We're going to need the lower gear here. And as the wheels are spinning, not going to stop. The wheels are still going to keep spinning. But as the wheels are spinning, make sure to write things down. Make sure to, any thoughts that are just kind of random, like grab your little phone with your voice recorder and just make a little verbal note, grab a napkin or a Post-it or something, and just kind of keep those thoughts with you over the next few days. Journal them, whatever you got to do, and use them. Because I think that those little hits that we get, our little intuitive pings that are just like, you need to do this, think about that, and they just kind of come seemingly at a random time. It's not random during a new moon. It's all very much a part of the bigger picture. It's all very much a part of the plan. So it is going to be important for you to pay attention to that and utilize it. Utilize it for what it's really for, which is your spiritual progress. Okay. Oh, Venus is coming into Leo as well. For me, it's my Venus return as she gets later on in Venus. So it's not too bad for me. But Venus in Leo is kind of a big dramatic placement. There's this, she's also coming in contact with the North Node as well, which, Venus is a little bit of a driver. Let's give her some credit, okay? Venus is a little bit of a driver. We've got the Seven of Coins coming out here. When she wants something, she goes after it. Maybe in a more subtle way, not in like a big, loud Mars or Pluto kind of way that's just like powerhouse, no stopping. But she is more, there's more, of course, it's Venus, there's aesthetic to it. She's more artistic and more creative about the way she goes about getting things. And I feel as though you're going to start feeling that drive of like, okay, I really need to start achieving this stuff. I really need to start taking my life to this next level. I really need to like amp it up. And you're going to start feeling that pressure because of the North Node there. You're going to start feeling like what has been is really no longer good enough for you. Even here, 7 of Coins, it's no longer good enough. There's no longer an excuse for standing still. And even though the cards have been like, just hang tight, hang tight, hang tight, and I think still that's the message, especially when we're going into a Mars retrograde in the next couple of weeks. That's going to start happening. We're in the Mars retrograde shadow right now. So there's still like a proceed with caution. So how do you, I guess, proceed with caution but still bulldoze forward ahead? It's bulldoze carefully and bulldoze in alignment. You know, always ask yourself, is this something that is contributing to the overall goodness of the world? Is this something that's contributing to my own ability to experience additional love and compassion? Is it something that's contributing to the goodness of someone else's life? Am I helping someone, you know, with their journey? Is it selfless? Like, these are all kind of questions that you can run through your mind on a decision basis. And if it's not really in alignment, then it's probably really not worth your time. And that's, again, a function of Saturn. Time, one, is a function of Saturn. Our experience of linear time is karmic, right? Because most of other dimensions, you know, they experience time all at once. It's not like this progressive kind of experience. And so with that idea, the moment becomes more important than ever. What you do in this moment, what you decide in this moment. There is no other moment more important than this one right now, right? Because everything else just isn't even real. It's an illusion. So what are you going to do in this moment? And Saturn's there to kind of teach you some lessons, you know, and to get your mind thinking along those karmic lines. Okay, even Saturn is like, can I just let you go? Can you just break free already? Can you just move on? Like, I'm tired of keeping track, tired of keeping tabs on you. You know, I got enough people to worry about. You know, I know I'm being kind of a little bit silly, but it's kind of, why not, right? And so Saturn wants to let you go. It wants to set you free. It wants to see you ascend and to move forward. It's got enough people to worry about. So take each moment and take it seriously. Take those decisions in each moment very seriously. We're also having the Sun come into in conjunct with Pluto as well. So our ego is kind of there. Our outside world is kind of maybe struggling a little bit with our inside world, but any kind of an aspect, whether it's a harmonious one or a difficult one, can always be a positive one if we use it properly. Now we're getting the Queen of Swords, which of course is the card of Libra. Libra being the scales, Libra being just and being honorable and living the most honorable life. Libra is also very hard on itself. Libra and Virgo are the two signs in the zodiac that are really, really tough and hold themselves up to extremely high standards. But that's what's really needed right now. You know, there's like this need for a very discriminating filter process, filtering what's worthy and filtering out what's not worthy. And I suspect that very, very few things in this world are going to make the cut. Very few people in this world are going to make the cut. But now's the time for you to have a really sharp mind. Now's the time for you to have a really, even a sharp tongue, you know, kind of being direct with people. You know, as Venus comes into Leo, she's going to be working her way into an opposition with Mars. And we already just went through a Venus-Pluto opposition, now a Venus-Mars opposition. You know, relationships are definitely kind of taking a hit right now if you're not in a mature, loving relationship. There's kind of this battle of the sexes that kind of happens with a Venus-Mars opposition there. And there can be a little bit more aggressiveness. There can be, you know, if you guys aren't completely running parallel and you're kind of coming at each other at odd angles or perpendicular maybe, there can be some strife, there can be some argumentation, there can be some like even questioning of whether this is the right person for you. And it doesn't have to be lovers, okay? It can be friends, it can be coworkers and bosses and things like that as well. And people can be aggressive and edgy during this time. You know, the restlessness of Uranus is still in effect. I think for the next 8 years, there's always going to be an element of restlessness there, because Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus. You know, it's not super happy there. And I think it's kind of anxious to do its job and get that stuff kind of out of the way so that it can move on. Move into a fellow air sign. Let's see what else comes out here. Okay, we're getting the Four of Cups, the Emperor, and the Six of Cups. 4 and 6 are both reversed. So this is probably the Venus-Mars connection, right? Libra, Venus, Aries, Mars. Scorpio, Mars. Scorpio, Pluto. Be careful that you're not sacrificing your own path for the sake of someone else's path. Be careful that if someone else appears to be more strong or more assertive, that you match their level of assertiveness if you really just don't agree. It's one thing if you agree, and it's one thing if you can come to a compromise. If you can, great, go for it, you know. But if you can't, it's important for you not to put yourself on the back burner. Now more than ever, we need to maintain our standards. Now more than ever, we need to ensure that we are living the best possible life that we can. Now is not a time to get overly emotionally involved. We've got the Gemini stuff going on. We've got Mercury and Saturn. This is not an emotional time. There's no room for that, okay? Yes, we have Mercury in Cancer, which tells me that your intuition is actually really on point, okay? In the way that you intuit the way someone else is feeling, you're probably right. Any of those gut feelings that you're getting, pay attention to those. Those are really, really going to be put to good use. You have a little superpower going on right now, okay? But the Four of Cups reverse can often indicate to me someone that is not willing to take a step back, not willing to take a beat before making a decision. They can often be rash in their decisions. They can just hurry up and be quick to do something, and again, not really think it through. So it's going to be more important to be super, super conscious. And when a decision is placed before you, to not just make a decision right away. Take time to really consider it. This is a card of consideration. This is a card of analyzing the data, which is something that Queen of Cups loves to do, right? Or excuse me, Queen of Swords. She loves to analyze the evidence. She likes to see both sides. So when she jumps to a conclusion, she gets buyer's remorse. When she jumps to a decision, she's like, oh man, what did I just do? I didn't think it through. And she's like, oh, I shouldn't have done it. Maybe I will, maybe, but no. And then she's constantly oscillating back and forth, and we don't want to be there. That's not a solid state. It's not good. What did I say about living in the moment? We don't have time to wallow in the past right now. We don't have time to wallow in our emotions. We don't have time to make decisions based on our hearts. You know, well, when I say heart, I mean like our emotions, which can often be even connected with our ego as well, right? The desire and the wanting of certain things to satisfy some of our ego's desires. Be careful. It's important for us to analyze our egos. Not everyone is going to do that, so we got to kind of be doing it for ourselves, and then also recognize when someone else is acting according to their ego as well. And to know that maybe they're being rash. They're the ones too that are not thinking things through as much as they should be right now. Page of Wands and Knight of Wands. I'm feeling like such a social element here right now. And a King of Cups. Wow, a lot of people coming out. a lot of people. So this is kind of the order that they came out, so you can see the directionality. Okay. Page of Wands and the Knight of Wands connecting while someone is turning their back on the King of Cups. Interesting that we're getting people right now, because normally I see there's like one major arcana. Normally I get like really big things. I don't know that this week is going to be especially a big deal. You know, this new moon is not going to be especially a huge, you know, energetic force that comes in and rocks our world. You know, we kind of just went through too much of that. Chiron coming in Aries in April, Uranus in May. So it's kind of like, oh, we're at a nice sort of percolating place. But yet, at the same time, they're all the people that are coming out, they're all upright. I feel like there's high quality people around you, at least. If you are in a romantic situation, you might want to be careful if you're just kind of dating or just kind of getting your feet wet a little bit. Be careful of the people at play. A Knight of Wands in a romantic sense is a really difficult energy. If you're in an established relationship, you guys might, like I said, you might be sort of at a crossroads a little bit, and that's okay. It's kind of mixing the oil and water. But oil and water can actually be a beautiful combination if you let oil sit on top and water sit on the bottom. And you can still accomplish things, even though you may go about doing them in a different kind of way. It is so important to have that open-mindedness, though, and that's one thing I do love about a card of Sagittarius is the open-mindedness, the lack of judgment, and the lack of projection. He makes no apologies for who he is, and he also doesn't really expect you to make apologies for who you are either. And if you are like oil and water or fire and water, then so be it, and that's the way it is. If you need to go your own separate ways for a little while, then so be it. That's the way it is. These are two cards of really highly independent people. And these even too, I'm a little bit worried about the Libra quality because her directionality is so incredibly focused toward the Emperor. So again, please be sure that you're not willing to overcompromise this week. Don't give up on those standards. If you need to just take a break, go for it. You need to take a beat, do it. Separation might actually be beneficial for you. Not getting involved with the people at work, not getting involved with your friends or the politics or whatever it is you're trying to deal with. Again, don't forget the Mars retrograde coming up, guys. A lot of the stuff that's kind of you're dealing with right now isn't going to really matter in a couple weeks anyway. King of Wands reversed. Wow, another person. Three of Cups. And a Ten of Wands. Okay, let's just stop there because, I mean, the cards are just like, I don't even know. They're not even really, I'm not really connecting with them if I'm being honest with you. I feel like we're just kind of like, okay, we get it. King of Wands reversed. There's personalities all over the place. Everyone's personality is going to be a little bit raw. Even in the Aries reading, I have to laugh because I'm here with Alexandra from Alexandra Tarot, and we were going to do a collaboration. We actually filmed one, and then we went back to the editing and the audio. Like, you couldn't even hear us, and so we would try to do it again. It just didn't work. So we might do it again another time. But we were talking about like the titles of our videos and how she hates like creating titles, and I hate doing it too because it's like we're trying to sell you guys on like click on my video, watch my listen to my dramatic title and all of this, and like you kind of know based on the sign what's going to sell them, right? When you're doing a Leo reading, it's like they want to hear about, oh, I'm so powerful, and so you feed their ego with the title of the video. You know, if it's Pisces or Cancer, you give them a more like sensitive, emotional title. And anyway, it's like so easy. And this month I labeled the Aries video, which was like one of my lowest watched videos for June. I labeled the Aries ones raw and vulnerable, and when I posted that I was like, I don't think this is gonna really work because Aries doesn't want to hear that they are raw and vulnerable. Like, no, they want to hear that they're fighting, and they want to hear that things are going well, and there's like got to be optimism and all this good stuff, and you got to feed that. right? But I labeled it raw and vulnerable anyway, because I do think that, you know, our Aries part of the chart is very exposed. That inner warrior is very raw because of Chiron coming in, because of Uranus leaving. You know, there's this sense of self that is very, very fragile. And people's egos, and here we have Leo, right? The card of ego and self-expression. We have our ego kind of on the docket now with the in conjunct Sun and Pluto. And we may experience some people doing certain things simply because it satisfies some kind of immediate egotistical desire, you know, and you're going to see that. You're going to be able to really recognize that. But guys, seriously, all in all, like, there's no problems this week at all. This was an awesome reading. Like, I don't even know. There's really nothing to even say. There's really nothing to even, I don't even know. Just go with the flow. It's fine. There's no real huge things, no real huge drama, anything. So you're going to be fine. Just make sure to stick to who you really are. Make sure that you are sure as much as possible. Make sure that you're sure that you are acting in the moment in a way that is conducive to the to your soul's alignment toward goodness and love. Like real love, not romantic love. Okay? Okay, enough of that racket. Can we talk about the starseed stuff now? Let me grab a sip of tea. I'm trying to wake up still. It's early. I couldn't sleep last night. I don't ever really get nervous about flights. Ever, like, traveling, it's like no big deal. But I was nervous last night. I don't know why. Woke up really kind of agitated. Maybe that's the new moon in Gemini, maybe. I don't know. Oh, Starseeds is a fun topic, you know? It's still a little bit kind of in the fantasy realm, right? Like it's like so science fiction almost. But it has been kind of confirmed by different sources. You know, we have these big truthers and whistleblowers, David Wilcock, Corey Good, the people, you know, the secret space program people that have talked about this as being something that is actually happening. So for those of you who don't know what starseeds even are, I'll briefly explain. Okay, so we have all of these races of people all over the universe, all over the galaxy. And, you know, they're all from different densities, different energetic vibrations. We are of the third density, but there are higher races of people in the fourth, fifth, and sixth, and even up to like the eighth density. And these races of people are sending souls to Earth to sort of help humanity, to help guide humanity, to help us kind of get back on track. And this has been happening for thousands and thousands of years. You know, not everyone is a starseed. I don't even know for sure if I am, you guys. It's a fun idea to think about. These races of people are sending souls to come to Earth to help us get back on track. How strange is that? Now, let me tell you a little bit about me, if I may. I have a stellium, okay, 3 planets in the 12th house, Sun, Mars, and Mercury. So 3 of the pretty big personality developing planets. I have Neptune, almost, it's like 1 degree from my IC, or the 4th house cusp, in the sign of Capricorn. Again, Pluto, Saturn, Moon, South Node in Scorpio, 2nd house. I was reading a book when I was in Budapest last year. It was a book by Liz Green, who's huge in the astrology world, and some other guy who, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name. But it was a transcription of a seminar that they gave. And she described people with a lot of 12th house placements in a way that just hit me so hard. She described it as these people experience what we call divine homesickness. And she used this phrase, divine homesickness. where like there's this feeling of melancholy. And I've always been an extremely melancholy personality, like kind of a drag, kind of a bummer. You know, I'm not the life of the party type of person. And I've always kind of just been in my own little imaginative world. I've always had a hard time being social and making friends. And I mean, even when I was a little girl, like having friends was such a hard thing for me. When I do find someone that's my friend, like they are my friend forever. And I might not see them maybe a couple times a year, right? But I still think of them as like my best friend. And it's very, very rare for me to find that type of connection with someone. And it's not like we go out and do stuff and therefore that person's my friend. It's like, no, this person has to expose the deepest levels of their soul before I can really consider them my friend, right? As terrible as that may sound. But if you invite me to the movies, you invite me to to go boating or something, like, you're not really my friend. You're just someone that I went to the movies with. You're just someone that I went boating with, kind of thing. But I think there's this huge population of people that feel the same way. Like, I'm not just some like depressed girl out here talking about how sad my life is. Like, no, it's fine. Like, my life is normal, right? And there's a huge population of people that feel the exact same way. And I know, I do private readings all the time, and I can see these charts, and I can see how people's personalities are, and I'm like, yeah, you probably really don't like this worldly experience. You know, starseed people are people that look around at the human race, and you're like, are you kidding me? Are you for real right now that this is what the human race is doing? Are you for real right now that you really care that that person's gay? Do you really care that that person is a different religion than yours? Like, what's the big deal? Just chill out, just relax. Can't we all just get along? Like, there's such more important things to worry about than all this stupid shit. That we care so much about money, that we care so much. Like, the fact that we have a government, to me, is like so ridiculous. That we think power is like a thing and that we continue feeding it. And it's all things that I'm kind of recently coming into understanding of, like, what it was that has really been bothering me through the course of my whole first 32 years of life. You know, what is it that I could never really put my finger on? And when I was a little girl, it was the same thing. Like, why does anyone have to be in charge? I hated when we were like in school projects, doing things in school, and there had to be like a captain or a leader, right? I always thought that was the stupidest thing, and it always bugged me, and I never wanted to be the leader, and I hated being led. I was kind of, I was kind of like this weird cross between an inner rebel, which I think so many of us are. We are rebels. We have revolutionaries inside of all of us, and yet I was always kind of just doing what I was told at the same time, which now I'm realizing that was stupid. Doing what you're told is stupid. Doing what you're supposed to, doing what everyone says you're supposed to, you're just doing yourself a huge disservice if that's the case. But there's this huge population of people that feel that way. Because when they incarnate, they go through what we call a forgetting process, and they come to Earth and they don't have any recollection that they're from a different world, that they're from a different planet. You know, they just go about their day-to-day lives, and that's kind of a problem, right? Because then they can get trapped in this cycle of karma. So I know that I've been on Earth for several lifetimes, and my first past life regression that I did, I had a beautiful memory of me in Egypt. Now, it's funny. I feel like I've always been the same. In all my past life regressions, there has always been this sense of melancholy. Every single one. Every different scene, I'm like completely disconnected from what's happening in the world. So my first past life regression that I did, I was in this, I don't even know what to call it, like a temple kind of thing. It was like this, just a very regular, non-ornate, square building that had no ceiling. And it was like a very dusty air, right? Very sandy air. So the sky wasn't blue, it was like a brownish color. And you could look at, it's like that, so dusty where you can look directly at the sun and you can actually see like the ring around the sun. And it was an open kind of enclosed area. And To one side, there was like a fountain for bathing or water or whatever. And then behind me, there was like this dark room. And during this regression, I was like, that's where we keep it. I have no idea what it is, but that's where we kept it. That's where it belonged. That's what I was there protecting. And I was all alone. And I remember that felt incredibly comfortable, this feeling of loneliness, which is something that I'm 12th house, Sun, Mars, Mercury. Like, if I'm not feeling lonely, like, I don't know, it's not a sad thing, guys, but like loneliness is such a thing for 12th house people. They just constantly feel this sense of like divine homesickness, right? Like, I just want to go home kind of thing. And I think I've always felt that. So starseeds get trapped in this cyclical karmic cycle, right? From all these different dimensions, all these different worlds, planets, galaxies, whatever. You know, there's the Sirians, the Pleiadians rather, there's the Lyrians, the Andromedans, like you name it. And when I'm studying this, which is just recent, as I'm studying this, I'm coming in contact with the one that felt most comfortable. And when I heard it, and when I heard people say the word itself, it just gave me a little bit of like, like it kind of piqued my interest. Like, I want to know what that one is. So intuitively, I went with it. So I started researching the Arcturians. That was kind of the one that really stuck with me and the one that really felt comfortable and familiar in some way. And I started researching that they're from the 5th density. Now, someone last week with my video had mentioned that I'm talking about 5th density stuff. Now, kind of the lessons into each density, and someone else had posted this comment as well, like the 3rd density, and I looked this up in the Law of One, is really about learning about self-awareness. That's really why we're here, to become self-aware, to become truly conscious. And we can see people in different stages of this, even like with our pets, right? We can see that our pets can experience emotions like they get embarrassed if they do something wrong, right? Or our pets feel guilty with something. Like if you get mad at them, they kind of like, oh, they feel bad. You know, that's kind of the beginning stages of self-awareness. And so we can kind of see that lowest, most elementary level. And then we can see people like the Dalai Lama or Martin Luther King Jr. or whoever, right? All these amazing people who are very, very self-aware and very controlled and what we would call true self-masters, right? And so that's the 3rd dimension. Those are kind of the lessons that we're really needing to learn here. As we progress into the 4th dimension, it's all about love and compassion. Now, in the Law of One, they do talk about Jesus, okay? And that Jesus was a reincarnated soul from the 4th dimension. Now, I was always a huge ascriber to the astrotheology idea. I really enjoyed, because I was from such a religious community growing up, astrotheology really made me feel like, oh, like it's okay. It's just a story. It's okay. You know, but in this book, they do talk that Jesus was an actual real person. Now, I don't know for sure. I don't think anyone knows for sure. But let's say he was real. He was an incarnated soul from the 4th dimension coming here to talk about love, compassion, and forgiveness, which he did. And he was very aware that he was here on a mission and that he had something that he needed to do. And he did, right? Again, highest level of self-awareness type of person. And then 5th dimension is all about discovering love and light and kind of understanding what that is and what that means. And then 6th and whatever, they kind of get into higher level concepts that we probably can't really understand at this time. So Arcturians are 5th dimensional, and they are here coming to Earth to help guide humanity toward a more peaceful existence, you know? And as a Libra, I always thought it was my Libra and ascendant thing, you know, let's just all just get along. Can't we all just get along, and can't we all just be nice? Can't we all just be nice to each other? That was always my thing. Like, why do we gotta fight? Who cares? All the stuff you're fighting about is stupid, you know? And I do believe that, unfortunately, because the world is the way it is, it makes it harder and harder and harder for people who are actually here on a mission, here with a job, to come in contact with what that is, and that's a, you know, it's purposeful. I mean, that didn't make sense. It's hard to come in contact with that purpose because it gets so convoluted with all the stuff of the world. Again, starseeds don't get it. They don't get the things of the world. They don't get why we have to be so worried about stupid stuff like money. Why do we want to get married? Why do we need to just like do all these stupid things? Why is buying a house the most important purchase when we have technology that everyone in the whole world could have a house right now, you know, kind of thing. Arcturians are said to be, again, all this is just kind of blogs and channeled information. You know, I don't really know for sure the truth behind any of this. I haven't personally come in contact or had any meditations or communications at all. But I will tell you that when I read that someone was interested in the Starseeds story, I started seeing the master numbers like you would not believe. Like 5, 6, 7 times a day, I'll look at the clock or a price tag or something, and it will be a master number: 1111, 2222, 1122, 1133. I mean, it's like nonstop. And sometimes multiple times within an hour, I'll look at the clock every time: 1111, 2222, 3333, 44, you know, or 1144, 1133. Sorry, there's no time, 3333. But yeah, so I mean, it's been like incessant this week. I'm like, okay, I clearly am needing to do this starseed thing. Clearly I'm kind of on the right track. All these blogs and things are just channeled information, but I don't know. As a tarot card reader, I can't not believe that that stuff, you know, is true. Like, of course, there's truth to it, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to sit and do private readings for people, you know? Then that wouldn't be a possibility. So Arcturians are, of course, very, very peaceful. They're said to be some of the most technologically advanced in the galaxy. They are said to be kind of like the old wise race, the old souls kind of thing. The ones that are, they're not in control of anything, you know, but they're very, very conscious of their contribution, and they care very, very much about the survival of the human race. And they're kind of one of the groups that is spearheading all these campaigns to really protect it from a lot of the negative forces and a lot of the negative energy that's out there in the galaxy. And I have to tell you something. When I was little, you know, I have these moles on my stomach, and I used to stare at them when I was in the bathtub, and just always kind of like look at them and kind of trace my finger over them. And I am going to show you, and I'm sorry, I know it's kind of gross, but I am going to show you. And when I was Googling what all these different starseed locations, Pleiades, Sirius, all these others, like what their galaxies, what their stars, you know, the constellations, you know, what are they? What do they look like? And I came across Arcturus, and I felt like I got punched in the stomach, because the 3 bottom stars of the maybe I mispronounced this, the Boötis constellation is exactly the 3 stars on my stomach, like almost to the T. You can kind of see, sorry, I know it's gross, but you can see these 3 moles here, and this big one here in the middle is like Arcturus. And I used to call it my constellation. I used to say that this is my constellation. This is, you know, it was just a kind of a joke. Of course, I didn't really think that at the time, but maybe there was a reason why as a child I was like, I wonder if that's connected with the stars. You know, and do you always ever see that movie Cloud Atlas, where they had that little birthmark that looked like a shooting star? And I don't know, maybe that is something. I don't know. I don't know for sure if I'm an Arcturian or not. I haven't had like a starseed astrology reading, so it's possible that I'm not, and maybe those are just moles and that's it. But I don't know, it just kind of, all the pieces of the puzzle fell together a little too quickly. It was all just a little bit too easy. It was like suspiciously easy. And I'm sure a lot of you from the Pleiades and Sirius and all of that, people who know like for a fact that that's where they're from, it'll be really fascinating to see where you guys are from, and really where you feel the most connected with. But I think Arcturus makes me feel the best. It makes me feel like I have a place to go home to. And I gotta tell you, it doesn't matter, you know? I had to come in have that conversation with myself that it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I am from a different place. The only thing that really matters is that I'm here and I have some kind of a job to do. That this life isn't about, not about tarot really. It's not about really anything, but rather it's about what we have to give. And I kind of have this saying that I've sort of started adopting in my day-to-day life, and it kind of goes like, or it doesn't kind of, it goes like this. Don't be grateful for what you have, be grateful for what you have to give. So as I'm going about my day-to-day, I'm like, okay, well, what can I give today? And what can I contribute to the world today in a positive way? Even if that's just a meditation, right? And all my meditations nowadays start off with a very intense concentration on my heart chakra, a very intense concentration on the highest vibrational concept of love that I can possibly conceive of, and the projection of that outward. So before I start drifting away into the cosmos, you know, I'll always start with the meditation like that. And I'll tell you what, a lot of times that's just my entire meditation, and I'll sit there for like an hour. A lot of times now, over the past couple months, I mean, I've created a life for myself where I can be alone a lot. I've created a life for myself where I don't have to be social and like no one cares, right? No one knows what I'm doing at any given moment in time. I'm always very kind of elusive, you know? So some days I will stay in the apartment all day and not leave and just meditate, right? And come into a place of like where my whole body is tingling so much that I'm just like I can't even really function in the outside world because I'm just so energetically charged. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm sure there's a reason why I've been drawn toward this kind of lifestyle where I'm not really interested in friendship circles, and I'm not really interested in, you know, dating or anything like that, because it's just I just don't know that that's really what I'm meant to do. Do I know that for sure? No. Is that just kind of something that, you know, I don't know. Some of us just feel like we know what we're meant to do and we know what we're meant not to do. And for me, this feels the best. And again, that's common for 12th house people to live more isolated lives. Super, super common. It's not just me. There's like millions and millions of people out there with lots of 12th house stuff going on. And they do just feel happy just on their own. And it's not a sad thing. And we all need to stop feeling sad for people like that, by the way. Don't feel sorry for me. Like I'm happy like this, right? And it's allowing me to come in contact with a purpose. Let's say that. So that's kind of what the tour is actually going to be about. You know, the tour throughout Europe that I'm going to do. I'm going to post the list of cities down below that I'm going to go to. And these are going to be the cities, okay? I'm not going to be changing it too much. So between beginning of November and end of December, and then I'll be back in the States for Christmas, and then I'll be back. Actually, I'm going to spend some time in Morocco in January. Yeah, I can't do a U.S. tour, guys. Just FYI, I can't do it. I thought about it, and I just get tired when I think about it. There are so many amazing people in the U.S. Like I'm not. It's not the people really. It's really about. I'm getting so frustrated by being American in this world. It's like you look in from the outside. You're on the outside looking in. You see the world the way that the world, or you see the U.S. the way the world sees you. And you're like, oh, come on, U.S. Come on, like get your shit together. You have so much innovation, so much creative power, so much education. There's a culture of success. There's a culture of wanting to make the world better, and yet it's just like getting pissed away in so many ways with all the negative stuff. It's like there's not enough good stuff to overcome the negative stuff. And I get really, really frustrated by that. You know, how the US is like, it's like we're fabricating war out of thin air for money, for profit. We're suppressing, like, the one thing that kills me is like, there's millions of people dying of AIDS in Africa, and yet there's plenty of drugs and pharmaceuticals available so people don't die of AIDS anymore. But we're not giving it to those people because that country doesn't have money to pay for the, like, is that not the stupidest thing you've ever heard? Like, the evil that is there for something like that is just, it really, really frustrates me. And I know it's all over the world. It's not just the US. It's every powerful country. Like, I get it. But the US could be a real leader in a real way toward leading this world into this better place, and it's just not. Like, it's not living up to what it's fully capable of. Russia is the same way. China is the same way. You know, these huge mega superpowers that, I could go on and on and on. Don't even get me started. You know, I think a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. too. I think of him as like an incarnated soul, right? Like Jesus, like Nelson Mandela, like Gandhi, and everyone else before them. You know, the list goes on throughout human history. And these are incarnated souls. And I'm like, well, who is going to be the next incarnated soul that leads a global revolution, right? Could you imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. not only applied his theories and his tactics and his techniques on a global scale to sort of free the human race? Could you imagine if the entire world just stopped giving power to the things that have power and stopped giving power to the people that have power? Like, I think about this all the time. Like, what would happen if everyone in the world just decided to stop using money? Like, we just stopped. We're just like, yeah, we can do a tradesy or a barter, or, you know, I'll just maybe give you something because maybe you just need it. You know, this whole idea of, would you steal a loaf of bread to feed your family, is like, no, the person that has the bread should give the bread to the people that need it. What if we just all lived like that instead? What if we all just decided to start living like that? You know, there's this famous saying, and it's like, money has no power. The real power is convincing 7 billion people that it does. When you start really thinking about it like that, you're like, what would happen? What would happen if someone stood up, like, and led a global revolution that was completely nonviolent? Revolution fighting for love, fighting for compassion, fighting for true equality, and fighting for true will, true free will. You know, what would happen if we all were truly free to choose everything? Because I think we would all agree that, you know, we're not really free to choose stuff. I'm not free to choose whether or not I pay taxes. I'm not free to choose whether or not I, you know, can travel from one country to the next. No, like, you need a passport. Why do you need a people that I think are starseed origin people think passports and borders and countries and nations, like these imaginary borders that change all the time. It's so stupid. Like, on one side of this imaginary line, I can have a gun, and then on the other side, I can't have a gun. Like, it's just, none of it makes sense, right? Anyway. It's morning time. I'm going on a really deep rant for morning time. Okay, let's cut it off there. I'm gonna go. I have to actually finish packing and getting everything ready to go. I wish you guys absolutely nothing but the best week this week. Thank you so much for being here on a week-to-week basis. Please feel free to share your starseed stories. I'm very curious to hear where you guys are from, if you've really come in contact with that or not. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Bye.